Hey everybody, welcome back to Sarah J. Awesome. First off, since my last video, I finally have 1,000 subscribers. This is a huge deal to me. I did not think I was gonna ever have 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. If you are subscribed to my channel, I love you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't have 1,000 subscribers if it wasn't for you subscribing. It means so much to me because this is my hobby, my only hobby. I just love doing this, and it means so much to me that other people are actually enjoying my videos too. So thank you. My last video right before Valentine's Day, I was driving home from work. I made that video about me almost running out of battery trying to get home because it started getting so cold. Anyway, it was pretty crazy. I did get a little bit of snow. My kids did get to make 2 little snowmen, so that was awesome. We did have to actually use spatulas and scrape quite a bit of sleet off of the vehicles, including my Tesla, to get enough snow and sleet and ice to make the snowmen, but that was pretty awesome.
That's how we make snowballs in Houston.
Not even snow, it's ice.
Yeah, sleet balls.
I will say it was the first time that I've ever heard that much sleet hitting the ground and the roof and everything, and it was the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. Something like if you mixed the sound of campfire crackling and rain hitting the ground, that's what it sounded like. Beautiful. However, a few days went by, it kept freezing. It did not go well for us here in Texas. Everyone was without power, millions of people. Some people did not make it through the storm because it got so cold and they didn't have power and water. Our house is okay. I know a lot of people that most of my family had problems with their houses and their pipes and everything. So if you happen to see that and you wonder if all of those horror stories about the Valentine's Day winter storm here in Texas, if those stories are true, they are true. It was awful. I did not make a video. It was horrible. So everyone that went through that, I hope that you're doing okay and you made it through all right. I haven't been able to do any videos this last week because I've just been like crying nonstop, and I was not going to do a video where I was crying and bawling, so I'm not going to do that right now. I'm trying to, just be thankful for everything that I have and that everything went okay with our house. However, the good thing about not having made a video, I was doing another experiment on my car while I was locked up in my house for I think I was locked up for 9 days. One of my followers, super awesome guy, his name is Rick. He actually has a YouTube channel about restoring and protecting old documents, mainly comic books, which is totally awesome. That's his hobby. He actually sent me a question, and he said, I travel for work a lot to other states for a couple weeks at a time. How long can I leave my Tesla parked at the airport before it dies? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, this is the first question I've gotten that I can't help you with. I'm so sorry. And I was like, you know what? I can't drive anywhere. The roads are iced over. I'm stuck here. The power is going on and off, so I'm not going to have my car plugged in. I did an experiment to see with my car, the 2020 Model 3 Standard Range Plus, how long can you park your car for with Sentry mode on and Sentry mode off in different temperatures and different, Sentry mode activity? How long will it take before your car dies? I really impressed myself with this, you guys, because I freaking suck at math, okay? It is my worst subject. I absolutely hate math. In college, I had to take 2, maybe 3 remedial math classes because I think I actually failed one of the remedial classes, and then I had to retake it. Yeah, I suck, okay? I was in 2nd grade, and I wanted to be an astronaut, and we started learning about fractions and decimals, and I asked my mom, I said, do astronauts have to do a lot of math? And she said, oh yeah, they have to be really good at math. And I'm like, well, crap, I'm not going to be an astronaut. I was like, well, what about marine biologist? She's like, yeah, you should be good at that. So anyway, I didn't become a marine biologist, but I suck at math, okay? So what I did, I didn't start with 90% battery or 100%. I just started with whatever percent I was at. And I took a screenshot at that time. Like basically, if I took a screenshot at 1:08 p.m., I would take another one 4 hours later at 5:08 p.m. Over a certain amount of time, I said, okay, so from like 1 o'clock p.m. this day to 1 o'clock p.m. the next day, 24 hours, how much percent battery did I lose? It took me like 4 hours to figure out how to do the math. Once I got all of my information and everything, my averages and all that, this is kind of what it looks like. I know this is a disaster. This means nothing to you, but this is basically how I did my math in my experiment. My first average with moderately busy Sentry mode in cold temperatures, in 15 hours, I lost about 10% battery. My first test with Sentry mode on, I only did that over, I think like a maybe 12 or 24 hour period. But when I went to go do it with Sentry mode off, there wasn't enough information to even make a graph, because in 12 hours, I had not lost a single percent of battery. So I actually had to do the Sentry mode off experiment for 4 days to just get a little bit of loss in the percent battery, because you're losing almost nothing. I never noticed how much battery Sentry mode uses, because, you know, you go to work for like 6 to 8 hours and I was only losing like 3% battery. So that's nothing in my brain. But over a few days with Sentry mode on and cold temperatures and Sentry mode being really active, it really depletes very quickly. So with my Sentry mode off experiment, which I have here, all of my numbers and everything, all the screenshots that I took, in 72 hours, I only lost 4% battery. That's amazing. Now, since my first experiment with Sentry mode on, I had cold temperatures and moderately active Sentry mode, but I also did 2 more tests to see Sentry mode when it was not very active, and you know, like in the middle of the night when there's no cars going by, the roads were iced over, nobody was driving, nobody was walking. I did try to walk by my car and actually slipped and fell and busted my butt. My son and I went out there and the driveway was iced over, and the irony of the situation, he was kind of moving his feet back and forth and acting silly, and then he slipped and fell. And I yelled at him. I'm like, son, we cannot get to an emergency room. You cannot be screwing off out here. When I was yelling at him and moving around like that, I slipped and fell on my butt. So anyway, unfortunately, I was doing Sentry mode off and it didn't catch that. Otherwise, I would have put it in here. So my second battery test was Sentry mode on. It was still cold temperatures, but it was not very active Sentry. It was over the night when no one was driving or walking by. And then I did a third test, and the temperatures had actually risen quite a bit, so it was warmer outside, and also again very little activity on the Sentry mode. With Sentry mode off, there's not that many factors. I mean, the car is just in deep sleep. It was only getting woken up for me to take those screenshots of the battery. I wasn't actually getting in the car. I was not opening the doors, was not driving, nothing like that. But when you have Sentry mode on, there's a lot of factors. The temperature, the cameras being on, possibly the cameras being heated. I'm not sure. That's going to be another video later. All kinds of things, the amount of activity. So there's a lot of different factors to consider with Sentry mode on. So that's why I did 3 different kinds, and then I averaged those together to get the battery life for Sentry mode on. But I only did 1 with Sentry mode off. And also it took me 4 days to get enough information with Sentry mode off. So I didn't have that amount of time to be sitting at home anymore, because I was only off for 9 days. All that being considered, my final numbers that I have here, look how there is so much, like just to do this test. I'm going to show you guys. This was my first test here. This is how sad I am with math. I was counting on my fingers with paper. Like it's terrible. Now I did post on Twitter my you know, how I did my math and everything, and had everyone check my math. I'm like, is everyone else getting these same kind of numbers? I talked with people, are you getting the same kind of battery life with yours? you know, things like that. And they all agreed my numbers were correct, so we should be good. And I will show you how to do the math problem at the end if you're interested in doing a test on your own Tesla. So this is my second page, just more math. My first, my test with Sentry mode off. My second test was Sentry mode on. My third test was Sentry mode on to get all those variable factors. And then this is just more math, basically just averaging everything out and making sure all my numbers were correct. And I didn't watch any YouTube videos on this. This is really terrible, you guys. Okay, I have a YouTube channel. I could have watched the YouTube channel and had someone else teach me how to do the math, but I was just like bored out of my freaking mind in my kitchen for those 9 days, locked up with like no electricity and stuff. And I was just sitting there for 4 hours doing this math at the table, trying to figure it out myself. Like, just, I don't know. I should have watched someone else's YouTube video, but I didn't. This is why it took me so long to do this, because I was trying to figure out how to do all of it on my own without asking anyone for help on how to do the math. But it's pretty simple, and I'll show you guys at the end. With Sentry mode off. Now, this is basically, if you are parked somewhere, your car is at 100%, you unplug your car, it will go to 0% in approximately 75 days. The first time that I did my experiment, my numbers and everything, I was really freaking out, and I posted on Twitter that my average for having Sentry mode on was an average of 8.6 days. It would be totally dead. But I forgot to average in, and thankfully the people on Twitter were like, hey, remember your car, once it gets to 20% battery, Sentry mode automatically turns off. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, I have had that happen several times. I get home with a low percent battery. Once it gets to 20% battery in your car, Sentry mode it will not work anymore. It just says low power, Sentry mode not available. I was like, crap, I gotta average that into my stuff, because this isn't really true that your car is gonna die in a week. Because once it gets down to 20% battery, it's gonna start losing the battery at the rate of not having Sentry mode on. So once I fixed that and I averaged that in, my average with Sentry mode on from 100% battery to 0% battery being parked, it would die in 22.25 days. So that's significantly more than 8.6 days. So thankfully, this car is very intelligent and it knows how to conserve battery once you start getting real low. And it turns Sentry mode off automatically. Sentry mode off, 75 days. Sentry mode on, 22.25 days. That is a huge difference. I mean, when you're noticing like 3% battery being depleted a day for Sentry mode, you don't really think about it when you're at work or whatever. But if you have to park your car at an airport, like this gentleman, you might want to turn Sentry mode off if you're going to be parked there for more than 20 days. That is what I have for this video. I will show you at the end exactly how I did my math so you can do your own experiment. But I know this is already a super long video, so I'm going to try to just wrap this up here. I hope that you love this, because I really enjoyed doing this experiment. I'm not going to get this opportunity again because, like most people, I have a job, I work, I don't leave my car sitting for more than Saturday and Sunday. And typically I'm driving it then too. So I was really excited to take advantage of that horrible ice storm and be able to do this and give people an answer. This is how long for sure that you can park your car at an airport and you'll, get back in it and have, a decent amount of battery. However, you do have to consider how far away your airport is, what percent battery you're going to have when you arrive at the airport, and then how long it's going to be sitting, and then how much battery you're going to need before you can plug that car in again. Because, your airport might be 30 miles away, so you're going to arrive there with, a certain percent of battery, then have it parked for a certain amount of time, and then you're going to have to either drive to another parking spot at the airport and plug it in there for a little bit, but they probably don't have fast chargers, probably have the trickle charging, I'm not sure. Or you're going to have to get to a supercharger or drive all the way back home. So those are things that you're going to have to figure out on your own. But if you really need help, you can message me on Twitter, you can message me on Instagram, and I will help you do the numbers and figure out what you're working with. Now that I know how to do this, I figured it out all on my own. My first time in my entire life doing math because I wanted to. No one was holding a gun to my head to do these math problems, and I really enjoyed it. I'm just sitting there at my kitchen table doing math for 4 hours, and I even tweeted, I'm like, what is wrong with me? This Tesla is like changing my brain. I'm obsessed. I mean, I'm sitting here doing math for fun, you know, ignoring my husband. He's like trying to talk to me, and I'm like, shh, I'm doing math here. Shh. That's it for this video. I hope you loved it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did the math on this. Now, what you need to do is take a screenshot. You just park your car first, okay? And take a screenshot in your Tesla app of the time and the amount of battery that you have. You can start with any % battery. It doesn't matter. Then what you're going to want to do is however many hours you want to do later, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you want to take it at the exact same time. It just makes it easier to keep up with when you're doing averages. Now, for Sentry mode off, you know, I took several pictures over 4 days, and then I went from my first time on Monday to my last time on Thursday. That was 72 hours, and I had lost only 4% battery. 72 hours equals 4% battery loss. What we want to do is we want to take this 4% and make that 100% battery, because we want to imagine our car with 100% battery, because we want to know from 100% to 0% how many hours it would take and how many days to die. So 4% times 25 equals 100% battery. So then we want to do the same thing. If we got, you know, 4 times 25 equals 100%, we want to also multiply our 72 hours by 25. So 72 hours times 25 equals 1,800 hours. So in 1,800 hours, we will have lost 100% of our battery. Now, if you do 1,800 hours divided by 24 hours in a day, you get 75 days. In 75 days with Sentry mode off, with my temperatures were between 19 degrees Fahrenheit to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. 75 days. Now, this next section right here is my test number 1, cold temperatures, moderately active Sentry mode. The first time I screwed up, okay? So, because what I did was I knew that in 15 hours, I lost 10% battery. And originally what I was doing was I was taking this 10%, turning that into 100% battery. You know, 10 times 10 equals 100. And then I was multiplying, you know, the 15 by 10 and getting that amount of hours. And that was depleting it very quickly because I forgot that at 20% battery, the Sentry mode turns off. So then you're actually losing your battery at a different rate. You're losing it at this Sentry mode off rate for the last 20% battery. So what we need to do when Sentry mode is on is take your percent that you lost in whatever amount of hours. It doesn't matter what your percent loss was. You just want to take that percent and turn it into 80. So multiply it by whatever you need to get 80. Then whatever you had to multiply it to get 80%, whatever this number is, even if this is, so like if this was 1% loss, then you would multiply it by 80. So if you had to multiply your percent by 80 to get 80, then you would multiply this by 80. But we had to multiply it by 8, so we multiplied 15 hours by 8. So 15 times 8 hours is 120 hours. So that's our rate of loss for Sentry mode on for the first 80% of our battery. But that last 20% of our battery, that Sentry mode is going to turn off, and it's going to be depleted at this rate. So then you can just plug these numbers basically into here. You actually don't even use these numbers, okay? You can use the ones that I have. It doesn't matter. 72 hours at 4% battery loss, or whatever you have for your Sentry off, or you can use mine. This is the rate of loss. The rate of loss is 72 hours equals 4% battery for my car. So 72 hours times 5 equals 360. 4% battery times 5 equals 20% battery. And then we're going to take that and we're going to add it. So we have 120 hours for the Sentry mode on, and then 360 hours for the Sentry mode off. We're going to add that together, and that gives us 480 hours. 480 hours divided by 24 hours in a day equals 20 days your battery would be dead. Now, test number 2, it was still cold, but we had very light activity. And again, 2 hours here equals 1% loss. 1% times 80 equals that 80% of our battery. And then 2 hours times 80 is 160 hours. Then over here, I use this same rate of loss here for that last 20% when Sentry mode would turn off automatically, and I added the hours together. So 160 hours plus 72 hours equals 520 hours, and then 520 hours divided by 24 hours in a day, it would be dead in 21.6 days. The third test that I did with Sentry mode on, it was warmer temperatures. Instead of 19 degree Fahrenheit to 40, it was more like 40 degree Fahrenheit to 80 degree Fahrenheit outside temperatures. So 17 hours equals 4% loss. 4% times 20 equals 80% battery, and 17 times 20 equals 340 hours. Then over here, we did the same rate of loss with Sentry mode off for that last 20%, and we added those together. 340 hours plus 360 hours equals 700 hours, divided by 24 hours in a day equals 29.1 days dead. Now, what I did for the Sentry mode on was I took these 3 averages of the days, so 20 days plus 21.6 days plus 29.1 days, added that together, and then divided by 3, and that gives you your average days that your battery will die with Sentry mode on. So much math. I've never known math to be fun, but apparently it can be. So yeah, if you want to ask me any questions about this, feel free. If I'm wrong in anything, feel free to point it out. I don't care. I'm not going to be offended. I did ask people to help me and is this right? And people said yes, but who knows if they're right. But this was just my fun little experiment. I am not a scientist, although I always did want to be a mad scientist. Maybe I could work towards that life goal. But okay, I'm just your average Joe. That's literally what I am, your average Joe. I am just a girl that loves her Tesla and just doing fun little things to help people understand these cars more. If you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. I have some awesome videos coming up, and I will see you guys next week.